I guess I always kind of hung out with people who used some drugs in high school even. But I think my drug use really became problematic once I moved here to Phoenix. I was alone. I was living over off of 40th and Southern in like a really tiny, crappy efficiency in a bad neighborhood. I had a job that I hated. I felt like I just saw the entire future stretching out before me of like, I didn't have a college education at the time. I had a decent job that paid all right, but I hated it. So I felt like my life options I didn't have much inspiration in my life. I saw like, okay, I could marry the least shitty guy that I see and just start shitting out kids? Or do I just stay working at this job that I hate for the rest of my life? Is that like what I can expect out of life? And if that's what I can expect, then heroin seemed like a decent option. You know, my neighbors I didn't have a lot of networks here. I just recently moved. They would like smoke PCP on the steps, and then I know some of them were using heroin because I would chat with them. We'd have barbecues together. I didn't know like how bad it could be because I saw people doing these things more in like a social way, and I didn't even really have a clue about like what physical addiction was like, and I didn't know, like it sounds stupid in retrospect, but I mean, especially if you tried other drugs and you try them and they're not as bad as people like weed, and you're like, oh, so everyone was lying about this, then it's like, it's kind of easy to presume like, oh, well, they must have just been lying about everything, was my reasoning. And also I just didn't care. So I started like injecting my legs, I was trying to limit like how visible it would be, and so like I damaged my circulation, I got hepatitis, I got tuberculosis, like a just shitstorm of health problems. I even would drive other people to methadone clinics, and I was kind of like, oh, I wonder how like you get in. But then I would try to cold turkey. I'd think like, oh, well, I can just stop. Like I would always think like, well, what's wrong with me that I can't just stop? And so I would try to stop, and I'd like hold myself up in my apartment for like a few days, and I think, okay, I'm gonna be fine, and I'd like make it a couple of days, and that's it, and then go back to the same old shit. So I knew just from speaking to other people about methadone clinics, I didn't know the process, how you got in, how effective they were. Is more just desperation that drove me to ITS. I wasn't convinced that it would work because I had failed so many times, and even at other clinics, I'd have short stints and they were like, it didn't work. And he kept raising my dose, and then eventually it's like it got to a point where when I fixed, I couldn't get high, like I couldn't get a rush. I wasn't sick because the dose was like holding me over like, you know, till the next day. I was coming in more regularly. And I think at that point I got laid off and I stopped working, and that made it easier to come in every day. I couldn't justify not coming in by my work schedule or have my work schedule interfering with coming in. So then like just sticking with it every day and then having the higher dose, like it really helped. And it wasn't even like I didn't have like the mental fortitude. I wasn't like, I'm gonna do it this time. I was just like hopeless. I just thought I don't wanna be sick in between if I don't have time to get dope, or dope goes dry, or whatever. That was my primary motivation, was just like I don't want to be sick anymore. I didn't even think, I had just accepted it was a problem I would have for my entire life, and I was screwed. But then it's like that helped shift it, the higher dose, and just sticking with it every day. And it's like eventually it just kind of clicked together, and then I started making smaller and smaller steps with like, I guess, identifying like personal goals of how I would want to change my life. So I don't know. So it's like finally the benefits of like not using actually existed for me, whereas opposed to before I always had too much motivation to keep using. So it really helped to like just it eliminated each of my reasons to use one by one. I think I've done pretty well. I was on 257 milligrams was my stable dose. I'm down to 12 milligrams as of this week. So I'm trying to finish my detox before the end of this semester, and then I'm going to Japan. So I'm gonna be done by the time I go to Japan.